Alright, in this video we're going to talk about how to remove items from an array list and how to do it safely in certain circumstances. So first of all, it's very easy to remove an item from an array list. Let's do list of strings dot remove 0. So what this does is it just removes the item that's at index 0. Gets rid of it altogether. Takes it out, doesn't even leave the index, or it leaves the index because it slides everything back down to that index. So there is now in index 0. So let's do that. Let's print out system.out.println list of strings.get 0. So after we remove it, what it should print out is there. And we're waiting. Oh yeah, at the end you see it prints out there after all these other things. I can just comment those out so you can see it better. So remove is very useful to change places in an array list. There are certain situations where you want to iterate over an entire array list and safely remove an item based on a given condition. So let's say we want to remove all of the instances of the word turkey from our list. Well, you might just think you want to do this. Int I equals 0, I is less than list of strings dot size, I plus plus, and then you say like if list of strings dot get I, and then we have to use the equals check, dot equals turkey list of strings dot remove I. So this syntax is a little weird if we haven't talked about it yet. What this does is it gets the item at that index, and what is that item? Well, this is a list of strings, so it returns a string. So this returns a string object. And what can you do on string objects? Well, strings have this equals method. So this would be the equivalent of me creating a string variable here, string test, or item to remove, or item in the list. How about in list equals list of strings, oops, that's wrong, list of strings dot get I, and then if we say item in list dot equals turkey. So those two things are equivalent. If you didn't, go back in the video if you want to see what it's equivalent of. So we're trying to remove the any word from the list that is equal to turkey in this case. But there's a problem, because if we remove an item in a list, then the next time we iterate, the whole list slides down. So now, once we remove turkey, Rogneski kimchi is now in that slot. And we increment I and we skip checking Rogneski kimchi. So there's a couple of things you can do. You can either say at this point I minus minus, so that you decrement I, so that when it's incremented it goes back to the same index of the string or of the item it just removed. However, there's a second way that a lot of people find a little bit easier to understand. So we set up an integer called index and we set it to 0, and then we're going to use a while loop. While index is less than list of strings dot size if let's do the string item and list thing again, so it's even super clear what we're doing. If item and list dot equals turkey, list of strings dot remove index, and if we don't remove anything, then and only then do we want to increment index. And so what this does is it gives you a little bit of finer control. Well, it's the equivalent actually of this, but to some people it makes sense. So in the instance where we find an item that we need to remove, we remove it and don't increment index. So the next time through the loop we check whatever has become that index, whatever is slid into that spot. If we don't find an item to remove, we do increment index to go on to the next item in the list. So each of these things is equivalent. So if we run this and print it out for int I equals 0, I is less than list of strings dot size, I plus plus system dot out dot println list of strings dot get I. So if we print off the list, here we go, we're gonna system dot out dot println list items colon space. If we run this program, you will see that in fact all of the turkey items that match turkey are gone. So list items, here we go, it starts it there and then does the rest. There's no turkey in that list. So that's a little bit about both how to use list.remove and how to iterate over and remove items from a list without causing any potential errors.